You know that feeling when you learn something weird or cool and go, wait, how did I not know this before? Well, get ready, because for the next few minutes, your brain is about to be full of whoa moments. Let's dive into some fun unknown facts you'll wish you knew sooner. Did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts? 2 pump blood to the gills, and 1 pumps it to the rest of the body. But here's the twist. When an octopus swims, the heart that pumps to the body actually stops. That's why they prefer crawling to swimming. It's less tiring. You've probably seen a pineapple, but did you know it doesn't grow on a tree? It actually grows from the ground, on a short, thick stalk, with the fruit popping up right on top. It almost looks like it's wearing a crown. Pineapples take about 2 years to grow too. That's a long wait for a fruit salad. Speaking of fruit, bananas are berries, but strawberries aren't. Yeah, it sounds totally backward, but botanically speaking, a berry comes from 1 single flower with 1 ovary. That means bananas qualify and strawberries don't. Nature has its own rules. Ever wondered why airplane windows are round? Well, back when airplanes had square windows, the sharp corners created pressure points. This caused cracks and even crashes. Engineers realized that round windows distribute pressure more evenly, making them way safer. So yeah, those little oval windows are kind of life-saving. Here's one that might freak you out a little. In your lifetime, you'll produce enough saliva to fill 2 swimming pools. No joke. Your body makes about 1 to 2 liters of saliva per day. Multiply that over years and, yeah, Olympic-level drooling. You've heard of fingerprints, but did you know your tongue has a unique print too? No 2 people have the same tongue pattern. It's like your own mouse fingerprint. Tongue recognition technology isn't common, but it exists. Kind of weird, but definitely cool. You know the smell of fresh-cut grass? That sweet, earthy scent? That's actually a chemical distress signal from the plant. Basically, when grass gets cut, it releases certain compounds as a way of saying, I'm hurt. So that lovely smell is actually grass screaming. Sharks are older than trees. Seriously, sharks have been around for over 400 million years. Trees? Only about 350 million. That means sharks were swimming around long before the first trees ever sprouted. They're basically ancient ocean survivors. If you were to shrink the entire history of Earth into a 24-hour day, humans wouldn't show up until the last minute. Literally. Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. If we scale that down to a single day, humans only appeared in the final 60 seconds. All of human history, every invention, every empire, happened in that one tiny moment. Puts things in perspective, right? Here's a fun one. You can't hum while holding your nose. Try it. Go on. When you hum, the sound needs to escape through your nose. If your nose is blocked, there's nowhere for the air to go, and you can't hum. It's a small fact, but oddly satisfying to try out. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. A dolphin can hold its breath for about 10 minutes, but a sloth, up to 40 minutes. They slow their heart rate way down, which lets them stay underwater longer than you'd expect from such a slow-moving creature. A Willem sapas voorrob, mint a nap fel zien. Lightning can reach temperatures of around 30,000 Kelvin. The surface of the sun, only about 6,000. So every time lightning strikes, it's like a flash of extreme heat. Brief, powerful, and insanely hot. The Eiffel Tower can grow taller in the summer. When it's hot, metal expands. So during summer, the Eiffel Tower can stretch about 6 inches taller. Then in the winter, it shrinks back down. It's not noticeable to the eye, but the change is real. Wombat poop is cube-shaped. Yes, cubes. Wombats are Australian marsupials, and they have a very slow digestive system. That gives their intestines time to shape their poop into neat little cubes. Scientists think it helps stop the poop from rolling away, useful when marking territory. There's a species of jellyfish that's basically immortal. It's called Turritopsis dohrnii. When it's threatened or injured, it can revert its cells back to an earlier stage and start life over again. It's not invincible, but technically, it doesn't age the same way we do. Kind of like a biological reset button. Now here's one you'll wish you knew back in school. There's a way to multiply numbers using lines. No traditional multiplication required. It's a Japanese method. You draw lines to represent each digit of 2 numbers and count the points where they intersect. It's visual and surprisingly effective. Search Japanese multiplication sometime. Your brain will thank you. The word algorithm comes from the name of a Persian mathematician. His name was Al-Khwarizmi. He lived in the 9th century and wrote a book that laid the foundation for algebra and later for algorithms. So next time you hear someone talk about the algorithm, now you know where that came from. You know how chameleons change color to blend in? Well, not really. Chameleons mostly change color to communicate, like when they're feeling aggressive, stressed, or trying to impress a mate. Their color also changes slightly with temperature. But it's not just about camouflage. Here's something small but mighty. Honey never spoils. Jars of honey found in ancient Egyptian tombs, thousands of years old, were still perfectly edible. Honey's low moisture and high acidity make it a terrible place for bacteria to grow. So it lasts basically forever. The dot over the lowercase I or J has a name. It's called a tittle. It's not just a random dot, it's part of the letter's design. The word tittle comes from Latin, meaning a small stroke or mark. It's tiny, but it has a name. Ever dropped your phone and tried to catch it midair? Your brain is actually faster than you think. Humans process visual images in about 13 milliseconds. That quick response time is why you can sometimes catch something before it hits the ground, even though it feels like a blur. There's a planet that rains glass, sideways. It's called HD 189733b. Winds reach up to 5,400 miles per hour, and the rain, tiny particles of glass blowing sideways across the surface. Earth feels a lot safer now, doesn't it? Bubble wrap was originally invented to be wallpaper. Back in 1957, the creators were trying to make textured wallpaper by sealing two shower curtains together with air bubbles inside. It flopped as wallpaper, but found new life as packaging material. And now it's everybody's favorite thing to pop. Elephants can't jump. They're the only mammal that can't. Their legs just aren't built for it, but they don't need to. Elephants are plenty powerful as they are, even with all 4 feet on the ground. If you shuffle a deck of cards properly, it's almost guaranteed that you'll create a combination that's never existed before. There are more ways to arrange a deck of 52 cards than there are atoms on Earth. That's 8 followed by 67 zeros. So, every shuffle, likely a one-of-a-kind moment. Your brain uses about the same amount of power as a light bulb, roughly 20 watts. It's not a lot considering how much your brain does, but it's incredibly efficient. All that thinking, remembering, and dreaming for the energy it takes to power a small lamp. You've probably used a microwave, but did you know it was invented by accident? In 1945, an engineer named Percy Spencer was working near a radar machine. He had a chocolate bar in his pocket, and it melted. That's when he realized microwaves could heat food. The first microwave oven was 6 feet tall and cost thousands of dollars. Now we use it to reheat pizza. You might think your stomach is still, but it's constantly working, and it actually digests itself. Yep, the lining of your stomach is made to resist acid, but it replaces itself about every 3 to 4 days. Otherwise, the acid inside, strong enough to dissolve metal, would eat straight through it. Turtles can breathe through their butts. It sounds like a joke, but it's real. Some turtles have a process called cloacal respiration, which lets them absorb oxygen through blood vessels in their backside. It's especially useful when they hibernate underwater during winter. The word muscle comes from the Latin word for little mouse. Ancient Romans thought that flexing muscles looked like little mice moving under the skin. Strange image, but the name stuck. When astronauts return from space, they can be up to 2 inches taller. In zero gravity, the spine stretches out since there's no weight pressing down on it. Once back on Earth, gravity pulls it back to normal. So technically, space makes you taller for a little while. If you cut down a cactus in Arizona, you can be fined or even go to jail. The saguaro cactus is protected by law. They grow very slowly, only about an inch in the first 10 years, and can live for over 200 years. So yeah, slicing one down is kind of a big deal. You can start a fire with ice. If you shape clear ice into a smooth lens, you can focus sunlight and use it like a magnifying glass. It takes patience and a very cold day, but it works. Nature is full of tricks. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. Why? Because guinea pigs are social animals. Keeping one alone is considered animal cruelty. So if you have one, you need to have at least 2. It's the law. Cute and kind. Your brain can't feel pain. It processes pain from the rest of your body, but it doesn't have pain receptors itself. That's why surgeons can operate on the brain while the patient is awake. It's weird to think about, but your brain doesn't know what pain feels like. Tomatoes were once thought to be poisonous. Back in the 1700s, wealthy Europeans avoided tomatoes. Why? Because they were served on pewter plates, which had high lead content. The acid in tomatoes would leach the lead out. People would get sick or die, and they blamed the tomato. It wasn't the tomato's fault, it was the plate. Butterflies can taste with their feet. When they land on a plant, sensors on their feet tell them if it's edible or not. They can even tell if it's good for laying eggs. It's a whole sensory system built right into their legs. There's a place in the Pacific Ocean where no one can hear you scream, literally. It's called Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. It's the farthest point from any land. The closest people are usually astronauts passing overhead in the International Space Station. If you ever wanted to be truly alone, That's the spot. Snails can sleep for up to 3 years. They don't usually, but in harsh conditions like drought, they can go into deep hibernation. They seal themselves inside their shells and wait it out. When life slows down, snails really slow down. Here's something fun about lobsters. They taste with their legs. Tiny bristles on their legs can detect chemicals in the water. So as they walk along the ocean floor, they're literally tasting everything they step on. Kind of gross, kind of genius. The inventor of the Pringles can is buried in one. Fred Barr invented the iconic potato chip tube, and when he passed away, part of his ashes were placed inside a Pringles can and buried. His family said he'd be proud. That's dedication to your design. A cloud can weigh more than 1,000,000 pounds. All that fluff floating above you, it's made of water droplets. A typical cumulus cloud can carry over 1,000,000 pounds of water, but it stays up because the droplets are spread out and light enough to float in rising air. Ants don't have lungs. Instead, they breathe through tiny holes in their bodies called spiracles. Oxygen moves directly into their cells through these openings. It's a simple system, but for ants, it works perfectly. There's a species of fungus that glows in the dark. It's called foxfire, and it gives off a faint green light. You'll usually find it in decaying wood deep in the forest. People used to call it fairy fire, and honestly, that's a pretty magical name for glowing mushrooms. Bees can recognize human faces. They don't have brains like ours, but they can process complex patterns. In one study, bees were trained to remember and recognize specific faces, even after days had passed. Tiny flying memory machines. The moon smells like gunpowder. At least that's what astronauts say. When they tracked moon dust back into the space module, they noticed the smell. Dry, metallic, and a bit like fireworks. No one really knows why, but that's space for you. Always surprising. If you cry in space, the tears don't fall. There's no gravity to pull them down, so they just form into floating blobs around your eyes. You can cry, but it's weird and kind of uncomfortable. Space doesn't care about your feelings. The longest hiccuping spree lasted 68 years. A man named Charles Osborne started hiccuping in 1922 and didn't stop until 1990. He hiccuped an estimated 430 million times. Nobody's entirely sure why it started or why it stopped. The human body is full of mysteries. A shrimp's heart is in its head. Specifically, it's located near its brain. Shrimp anatomy is a little different from ours, and that's just one example. Bonus fact, some shrimp can punch so fast the water around them boils. Yes, boils. You were once the youngest person on Earth. For a fraction of a second after you were born, you were the most recent human to join the planet. It didn't last long, but for a tiny moment, you held that title. Pretty cool, right? Penguins propose with pebbles. Male penguins search for the smoothest, prettiest pebble they can find and present it to a female. If she accepts, that's it. They're a couple. Nature's version of a diamond ring. A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. Venus spins so slowly that it takes more time to complete one rotation than it does to orbit the sun. So if you live there, your birthday would come before sunrise. Try planning a calendar on that planet. So, after all this, you've learned some weird stuff. You've tasted with your feet, grown taller in space, cried without gravity, and slept like a snail. But more importantly, you've seen how much there is to know, hiding in plain sight. The truth is, the world is full of tiny wonders. Every day there's something surprising sitting right under our noses or floating above our heads. And now, you know just a few more of them. Thanks for listening. And remember, never stop being curious. There's always another strange, true, and totally awesome fact waiting for you around the corner. And hey, if you enjoyed these weird and wonderful facts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.